Hello everyone, this is Lexicon Architect, and for today's commander, we're going to be looking at Ojer Pakpatiq Deepest Epoch, a 4-mana legendary creature god with flying that says whenever you cast an instant spell from your hand, it gains Rebound, so you exile it as it resolves, and at the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast it from exile without paying its mana cost, and then when it dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control with 3 time counters on it, and then it becomes this. It becomes a mana rock that adds 1 blue mana, and you can remove a time counter from Temple of Cyclical Time, sorry. And then for 3 mana, you can transform it. And you can only do that if it has no more time counters on it and only activate as a sorcery. So at mana value 1, we have Gitaxian Probe, which allows us to look at our opponent's hand and draw a card. Then we have Thought Scour, that we can either mill ourselves or mill another player, and then we get to draw a card. At mana value 2, we have Fairy Mastermind. It's a 2-mana flash flyer that whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you get to draw a card as well. Then we have cards like Impulse that allow us to look at the top 4 cards of our library and put one of them into our hand and put the rest on the bottom. So with Rebound, we get to Impulse again during our upkeep and then look at the top 4 and repeat the process. Then we have Ledger Shredder, a 2-mana flyer that whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, it connives. So you draw a card and then discard a card, and if you discard a non-land card, you put a 1/1 counter on Ledger Shredder. Then we have Mercurial Spelldancer. It cannot be blocked, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put an oil counter on it, and then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may reveal 2 oil counters on it, and if you do, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Then we have Ominous Seas that says whenever you draw a card, you put a 4 shadow counter on it, and then if you remove 8 shadow counters, 4 shadow counters from Ominous Seas, you get to create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token, and if you really need to, you can cycle away for 2 mana to draw a card. Then we have Search for Escanta. So basically, at the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top card of your library, you may put it into your graveyard, and then if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform this. It becomes a mana rock, and then for 3 mana, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them, put it into your hand, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And then lastly, we have Thing in the Ice, 2-mana defender, that it enters with 4 ice counters on it. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you get to remove an ice counter from Thing in the Ice. And then if it has no more ice counters on it, you transform it. Then it becomes this. When it transforms, it's going to return all non-horror creatures to their owner's hand. So we try to save this for the point where we really need to bounce our opponent's board if it's getting too out of hand. At mana value 3, we have a bunch of cards. We have Chrome Host Seed Shark that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you incubate X, where X is that spell's mana value. And then for 2 mana, you can transform the artifact. So if, let's say the non-creature spell is 3 mana, you make a incubator token with 3 that's going to come in with 3 1/1 counters on it when we transform it for 2. Then we have Haughty Djinn that has flying, and its power is equal to the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. And it also reduces the cost of instant and sorcery spells by 1. Then we have Midnight Clock, that is a mana rock for us, and then if we need to, we can pay 3 mana to put an hour counter on it. And at the beginning of each upkeep, you put an hour counter on it, and then once it hits the 12th counter, you shuffle your hand and your graveyard into your library, and then you get to draw 7 cards, and then you exile it. Next, we should talk about Puppet Stitcher. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. And at the end of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more creature tokens, you may transform it. Then it becomes this. Creature tokens you control lose all abilities and have base power toughness 3/3. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you may transform Puppet Factory back into Puppet Stitcher. Then we have Propaganda, just to tax our opponents and make it harder to attack us. And then Wave Break Hippocamp. Whenever you cast your first spell during an opponent's turn, you just to draw a card. At mana value 4, we're going to talk about Murmuring Mystic. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you create a 1/1 Bluebird Illusion creature token with flying. Then we play Tauren Sky Summoner. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you make a 2/2 Blue Drake creature token with flying. At mana value 5, we're going to be playing Flow of Knowledge. You draw a card for each island you control, then you discard 2. So if we do play this while our commander is out, during our next upkeep, we can repeat the process and draw a bunch of cards. At mana value 6, we're going to be looking at Shark Typhoon. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. Then, if we need to, we can cycle it away for X, 1 colorless and 1 blue. And then when you cycle it, you create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. At mana value 7, we're going to talk about Hullbreaker Horror. 7 mana, flash, the spell cannot be countered. And whenever you cast a spell, you can choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to your owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And then lastly, at mana value 8, we can delve and then draw 3 cards. So you can exile cards from your graveyard while paying, while casting a spell. So if we have the 7 cards in our grave, we can just remove the 7 cards and pay 1 blue to draw 3 cards. Mana value 9, we have the Magic Mirror. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. You have no maximum hand size. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you put a knowledge counter on the Magic Mirror, and then draw a card for each knowledge counter on the Magic Mirror. And then our final card at mana value 10 is Octavia Living Thesis. This spell costs X less to cast if you have 8 or more instant sorceries in your graveyard, so it'll become 2 mana. It has ward 8. And then whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, target creature has base power and toughness 8/8 until the end of the turn. So this works really well with our little small flyers that we're making with other creatures, because they're going to become 8/8s along if they do have counters on them as well. As far as utility lands, we have Castle Vantress Scry, Hall of the Storm Giants to animate into a creature, Hidden Cataract to hide away. What is it? No, not hide away. Sorry, discover 4, and then Rivendell to help us scry as long as we control a legendary creature. And this deck is actually one of the more cheaper of my decks, coming in at a solid $158. If you like this content, please subscribe. My icon will be on the bottom right of the YouTube video, and it will allow you to subscribe to my channel. You have a good day.